Tensions between Washington and Tehran are rising, and a sudden military escalation could trigger a much larger global conflict. For weeks, people have watched the Middle East conflict escalate. Recent military exchanges between the United States, Israel, and Iran have pushed regional stability to a breaking point. The tension between these specific nations now threatens to destabilize the entire region. This isn't just about localized border skirmishes, it is a direct, high-stakes confrontation involving the world's most critical maritime artery and the stability of the global energy supply. The temporary ceasefire, which offered a brief, fragile pause in the ongoing fighting, is officially expiring now. Tensions are rising across the region. Now we must see if diplomats can rebuild negotiations before the next missile launch occurs and escalates the conflict further. The clock is ticking. The 2-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran expires on April 22nd. This looming deadline leaves global leaders wondering what happens next and how the geopolitical landscape will shift. With the deadline nearing, diplomats from the US, China, and Russia are crowding Islamabad's offices. The city is now the center of intense negotiations as officials work to stop a regional war from breaking out across the border. The stakes are massive. These negotiations go beyond stopping the gunfire. They decide who controls the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway acts as the global economy's main artery. Both sides have repeatedly used access to this route as a way to exert direct pressure on their rivals. Iran recently reopened the Strait of Hormuz, then closed it again after a large US blockade attempt blocked the passage. These frequent naval skirmishes and maritime blockades hit global markets hard, causing widespread economic instability. Oil prices spiked immediately because traders feared a total shutdown of the vital shipping lanes. Things escalated when US President Donald Trump directly challenged Tehran. After weekend talks in Islamabad failed, Trump threatened a total blockade on the Iranian ports used to access the Strait of Hormuz. This move puts global shipping at immediate risk. This move to break the Iranian blockade caused global outcry and raised fears that the entire ceasefire would collapse immediately. Even with these constant threats and blockades, some diplomatic movement is happening. Beyond the aggressive rhetoric, recent leaks from the Associated Press suggest that Washington and Tehran are actually preparing to sit down for new negotiations again. Negotiators are currently planning a second round of intensive talks to resolve the 4 specific unresolved disputes that are currently blocking a permanent peace agreement. The negotiating teams show how serious this is. The American delegation includes Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Representative Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner. This specific lineup signals the high stakes involved in these talks. This isn't just a routine diplomatic mission, it is a political move to secure a long-term settlement. By sending the Speaker of the Parliament, the Iranian leadership shows they are treating these specific talks as a matter of high national importance for their government. But getting to the negotiating table requires specific conditions first. Tehran insists that any real meaningful negotiations cannot start until the ongoing attacks against Lebanon stop entirely. This growing demand forces the United States and its allies to scale back Levant operations if they intend to avoid a direct, large-scale war with Iran. Nuclear negotiations and the Strait of Hormuz's future make these talks difficult. Some reports suggest momentum, and both administrations claim progress is possible, but the situation remains extremely volatile. The underlying reality is far more unstable than the recent diplomatic statements might suggest to observers. Both sides are accusing each other of breaking the ceasefire. The US specifically claims Iran seriously breached the terms of the current agreement, undermining the stability of the deal. What is happening? This is a geopolitical gamble where one miscalculation by major powers could trigger a worldwide energy shortage and spike global fuel prices. If Islamabad negotiations fail, we face a grim reality. The ceasefire might have just been a way for both sides to regroup for a harder fight. The USS could potentially see a much more violent next phase. They might target energy plants and bridges to put the most pressure on the government. If they reach a deal, the region might undergo massive reconstruction. President Trump suggested a golden age for the Middle East, arguing that economic growth and rebuilding Iran could happen if a settlement succeeds. This shift depends entirely on the specific terms of the final agreement. There is no room for error here. Everyone is waiting to see if diplomats can move faster than the advancing armies. The Middle East situation changes every hour. Will the April 2020 deadline actually secure peace or just start a new war? I'll be tracking the Islamabad talks as they happen. Subscribe and hit the bell to follow this crisis as it unfolds. Do you think a deal is even possible? I want to hear your take, so leave a comment below with your thoughts on the situation.